profit comes at the end of the project. Even if you're sold out on day one, the temptation to buy a fancy car or a fancy house or things like that should take kind of a backseat till you don't really see that money, come in.
Any specific techniques or technologies which have particularly helped you reduce, say, project costs and timeline?
There is a part of my office which, if I had to compare it to a movie scene, would be just like that mad scientist lab. So, so we're constantly looking for new things to happen. And, people generally say, don't reinvent the wheel, don't reinvent the wheel. We are the opposite. We love reinventing the wheel and we love doing it again and again. And we know very well that while we're doing this, there is a good chance of failure.
So, sir, what is it like being a MD of a listed company?
Just simply to put it, the way we have to deal with external agencies such as SEBI or investors, the way we have to do our earnings calls or the way we have to do, meet our investor relationship, which is not really a big thing for private companies.
Welcome to today's episode of Real Estate Journeys. Our today's guest is Mr. Siddharth Vasudevan. Mr. Siddharth is the managing director of Vascon Engineers Ltd, a company listed both on NSE and BSE. Vascon Engineers is a Fortune Next 500 company and has various verticals such as real estate, manufacturing, hospitality, and others. Vascon Engineers are present in over 23 cities and have delivered more than 5 crore square feet. Join us as we explore the journey of Mr. Siddharth Vasudevan.
Hi Siddharth sir, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to host you on my podcast.
Thank you.
And I would love to get to know your journey here. And through your journey, may so many second generation real estate developers or professionals be inspired or learn how to scale a business better.
Yeah, sure. I hope I can add value.
So to better understand your journey, we usually start from the beginning of, which is your childhood. So where were you born and brought up?
So I was born in Mumbai but brought up in Pune. I was uh, in Mumbai till I was around 8, and then we shifted to Pune since our business was growing in Pune, and then we've been here ever since. So more than 32, 34 years in Pune.
Okay.
Yeah.
And afterwards, could you tell us a bit about your educational journey?
Yeah, so I did my schooling in Pune at St. Vincent's, and then junior college at Wadia College. I've done my bachelor's in construction management in Singapore. That was a collaboration between Singapore Institute of Management and RMIT, which is one of the most reputed institutes of Melbourne.
Okay.
I have an executive MBA from IIT, Mumbai, and that's what I've studied. So, yes.
So, did you feel that these studies really helped you, actually apply those things, those learnings into business like real estate?
So throughout my say schooling and junior college, I was a very average kid when it came to study. I was more street smart than book smart at that point of time. It was only when I got into construction management that I really started excelling in being book smart as well. And that's when I realized that, being street smart is good, but having structure to what you're doing is very important. Especially that's how the organization is set up. So the further education that I did, like construction management, executive MBA, a couple of certificate courses from Harvard Business School, all of these helped in bringing structure to me personally as well as bringing structure to the organization as well.
Okay. And afterwards, you joined Vascon Engineers. So, when you came into your family business, did you join as the MD directly, or did you have to go through some stages or work in different departments?
So when I actually started working, that was in Singapore. I worked in Singapore for 4 years. So the construction management course that I did was actually part time. So I would work in the day and study in the night. So a typical day would be report to site by 7:30 in the morning, work till around 6:30, attend class from 7 to 10, head home, and hit it again the next day. So this was 6 days a week. Um, so that's where my actual working career started. And I did some great projects in Singapore. Some of them are world renowned now. Um, and it's only after that that I decided to come back to Vascon. So I always joke about this and say that my early mistakes in my career, I did it at someone else's cost. And once I had a foundation, I came back and strengthened our own organization.
Wow. And so once you joined Vascon, did you join as the managing director, or were you in a specific department? Did you become an HOD of a department and then become?
So I did not join as the MD of Vascon. In fact, when I joined, we did not have a division in the north. So I played a role in, implementing and having that division over there, making it stronger. Today, it's one of our, uh, highest revenue generating divisions. Uh, and we have a very strong team over there. So that's how the journey really started. And then I grew up the ranks. So I started as a project director. Uh, there. Uh, I was not appointed MD by my father, this, because we are a listed company and we have a board of directors. And one of our directors, who's also known as the Bhishma Pitama of real estate industry, Mr. KG Krishnamurthy, he was the one who proposed and said that we should make me the managing director. So um, it came to me as much as a surprise as it came to anyone else in the room. Absolutely not prepared at that point of time. So I didn't even have a future plan or anything of that sort from a MD point of view. I knew where I wanted to drive what I was doing, but that's where it ended. So, it was very knee jerk, I would call it.
So, sir, what is it like being a MD of a listed company?
So, in a listed company, there are a lot of facets which don't apply to other, other organizations. Um, just simply to put it, the way we have to deal with external agencies such as SEBI or investors, the way we have to do our earnings calls or the way we have to do, meet our investor relationship, which is not really a big thing for private companies. So the outward facing jobs increase very significantly. Internally the company is, it's all about, I would say the biggest difference has been compliances and the way we do compliances. So that changed when we went public, uh, but it's been more outward facing than inward facing.
Okay. And later, when you became the managing director,
Yeah.
you said you weren't quite sure then, but afterwards, what was the vision that you had that I want to grow in this particular sector, or I want to grow horizontally or backward integrate? Anything specific?
So one of the challenges of being in Vascon and the way we are set up is, uh, almost everything is done by my father. He's pretty much achieved, you know, I would say almost everything. So it's very difficult to come in and say that, you know what, from here we will achieve this, or we will grow here, or we'll do this just because of the position that we were in at that point of time. So, uh, initially it was like just trying to understand and steady the boat is what I would call it, because uh, you're constantly being compared to him. You're constantly, everyone's looking at you and seeing how you're going to outdo him or this. But for me, that was never something that I looked to, because, like, there's no fun in beating your father and bragging about it, right? He's your family, right? So, there's no fun of doing something or saying that I'm better than him. I mean, I can't be. He's had different challenges. He got the company from zero to where it is this. So, I couldn't take that as a challenge, or I didn't want to take that as a challenge. So my challenges were more about what are we not doing that we need to do now. So I completely moved away from trying to fill his shoes or trying to be him because I know I'm not going to be able to do it. Uh, so that's how this entire thing started off. And y- at that point of time, in probably around 2014, we went. We started going through a rough patch. The organization had a lot of challenges because of the clients that we were dealing with and their inability to pay us on time. Uh, so we took some hits. We went through some turbulent time. So so when I actually was at the helm, the first thing to do was to ensure that we are back to our best day, and then from there to really set challenges of growing into the future and things like that. So it was literally like first go back to 2012 and match 2012 and then move ahead to where we wanted to be.
Wow. So, sir, the transitioning from one generation to the other is often quite challenging.
Yeah.
How did you ensure that there was a smooth transition?
So I wouldn't say that our transition was all that smooth
Okay.
because you will face challenges. I think it is something where senior people in the team who have always been reporting to your father, uh, they are absolutely uncomfortable then being asked to report to someone who's just, I don't know, at that time maybe 32, 34. So uh, so those kind of things do happen. uh, there are people who left and went because they didn't like the idea of doing this. But one of the strengths of Vascon is that we groom our staff internally to grow up the rank. So, like for example, one of our VPs today who handles an entire zone, he started in Vascon as a supervisor.
Okay.
Okay, so this is so our policy is always look inward first, and if we don't find talent inside, only then look outside. But even before we look outside, we try to take efforts to train people internally, exhaust all of these efforts, and only then look outside. So, uh, what naturally happened is that all the number twos, then we were able to ask them to take over and give them that confidence and support from the top management to really help them perform. So, so my style of leadership is pretty hands off, and I like to give people the freedom to perform. And I only will step in when the water's over the head kind of situation, or if the situation demands that a client really wants to meet me or something like that. So we give people the opportunity to shine, which then gives me the freedom to do things like look into the future. So I can spend a good amount of my time thinking about 2026 or 27. And I'm not stuck with firefighting what is happening today.
Yeah, very true. So, how does a second generation entrepreneur find his place and grow in ranks within a professional organization?
I think the only way is that you have to continuously prove yourself. Uh, people will only respect you when you're able to deliver results. People will only respect you when when you're allowing them to grow with you. So I have not seen an organization which has grown leaps and bounds where the team has not grown leaps. So so we have to take care of everyone's personal aspiration as well as professional aspiration. So that's what we did.
Okay. And sir, talking about Vascon, how does Vascon differentiate itself from its competitors? Do you have a particular ideology in mind which you think is quite unique?
So I'll answer this in two parts since Vascon does contracting as well as we do
Yeah.
uh, real estate. In contracting, it's a very cutthroat competition business because you have to come L1 or you have to be the lowest tender to really win it when it comes to the government sector. And today, significant amount of our business, almost 75% of our business comes from from the government sector. So you have to find ways internally of trying to keep your costs low and strategize how you're going to do things to really beat the competition. So one thing that we did to augment this policy is we do design and build in-house, where we tell the client that you do the architectural design so that your vision is protected, and you give it to us from there. So the structural design onwards, everything we take into our scope. The advantage of doing this is that now I can tell my structural team that this is the raw material available with me. This is the kind of shuttering I have. This is the kind of equipment and machinery I have, and ask them to start designing beam sizes, column sizes based on what I have.
Okay.
So what that does is that I'm not therefore spending more capital to become efficient. I'm making use of things that I already have. And these are all like aluminum shuttering, for example. These are all things that can last over projects. They are not a one project item.
Yeah.
Cranes, for example, concrete pumps. So if you have this kind of back ending possible, then it's a good cost saving that you can bring to the table, uh, which then makes you competitive against people who are not of your standard, when it comes to delivery. So in the real estate part, we're pretty much into joint ventures, and that's been our base model. So we've been asset light when it comes to that. It's worked well for us. Of course, the challenge in that is how you manage your partners and their expectation,
Yeah.
uh, because that's where what it really comes down to. People like us, we will never be able to give the lowest price in real estate because we are product people. So uh, it takes us that extra while to get our landowners to understand that when you're putting your name to something, it should be the landmark of that location. Okay, and that's how our projects speak for themselves. I mean, like I believe that cities are defined by building. So when you say New York, you think of World Trade Center, Empire State Building. If I tell you Dubai, one of the first few things that will come into your mind is Burj Khalifa. So or if it's Singapore, Marina Bay Sands. So so cities are defined by building, and therefore it's our responsibility that we give that city a good name by building what we do. So for us, that's been our vision. So if you say Kalyani Nagar, you will associate with Marigold. Uh, if you say Viman Nagar with the Wakefield Chambers, or Koregaon Park now with Windermere. So you will associate to buildings over there, and that's what we really endeavor to do. And we can't do this coming L1. So so we take that effort in educating people on how we want our product to be. And then we obviously, when we do this and we have that product, it automatically demands a premium and gets a premium. So net, you're not in too much of loss, but you have to accept that.
So you were saying that you would be a product first company, and
So yes, product is very important to us. There's no doubt about that. But distribution or sales is equally important, if you ask me, because you will see that there are average products which have great sales channels and do phenomenally well, and there are fantastic products which do not have a great sales channel and then fail.
yeah.
So as much as product is important, you cannot ignore how you sell or how you position these products.
So you mentioned a few projects in Pune right now,
Yeah.
and your project Windermere is one of a kind for sure in Koregaon Park, and that too in the center of. Could you share the story behind it? What design philosophy that you had?
So Windermere is one of our projects where uh, we decided that it'll be one of the first few buildings in Pune, first few residential buildings in Pune, which will be flat slab. So, we've done commercial flat slab buildings. Those are very easy to execute. But in residential, it gets far more challenging. The reason we decided to do that was purely from an angle of customization. We knew that our clients who are purchasing from us, they are going to be spending upwards of 10 crores at that point of time to purchase an apartment.
Yeah.
And people who spend that kind of money are going to spend significant amount of money doing it up. On an average, I would say in Windermere, people would have spent 3 to 4 crores on their interiors minimum. So when you're spending that way, you should have the option to customize. And that's what we brought to the table at that point of time. And I think if you ask me personally, I think it's paid off. Uh, and it's very nice when you walk into a building where almost every flat is unique rather than every flat is a cookie cutter. This It's had its own challenges, of course. There are a lot of service changes, all of these things that you need to take care of. So those kind of challenges do come in. But overall, I would say that it's been very satisfying.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
And which time was this when you launched Windermere?
We launched this in 2012, I think.
And what
So,
was the price of the flat then, an average?
at that point, we was selling at around 15,000 rupees a square foot on saleable area.
Okay.
That's what we did.
So that would be around 4,000 sellable, which would,
Yeah, 3,800 was the smallest. And 3,000 was the smallest. 3,800 was the most common. And we had large units of 8,300
wow. So during that time, you had sold for 6 crores plus.
plus. Yeah.
That's amazing. Uh, Apart from the residential part, Vascon has been focusing quite a lot on government projects. Like you mentioned, I think almost 80% of your projects right now are government projects.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for the same?
So one is that of late the push by the government in the last 10 years on these kind of public projects has been very, uh, I would say it's very strong. So the number of projects coming into the market is, I think, at an all-time high. Uh, Secondly, also what we did is in the past also we were working with reputed private players, but uh, we found a lot of challenge, when things go bad and their ability to pay you is not there. Uh, it becomes very difficult for us because we are in a bottleneck position. We deal with the labor contractors who need to get paid on a weekly basis, daily basis kind of people, versus we get paid monthly. And when they don't pay us, we still need to keep our obligation, because these are people that really need the money.
Yeah.
So ethically, it is not right to hold back. And we went through those rough times. So, uh, we decided that we will work only with grade A developers. We obviously learned by burning our fingers. And then we started focusing on people like Godrej. Today we work with Capgemini. So these guys who are good paymasters, whose focus is that you deliver on time rather than try to hold back your money for some trivial reason. And their intention is very aligned with yours of finishing the project. So that is the way where both people make money. So we've been working that way. Uh, in the government, of course, what we did is that today a significant amount of our portfolio is hospital. And the reason we chose hospitals is that there is no external interference from opposing parties or from anyone, because these are very public sensitive
Yeah.
projects. So it's so far touchwood been smooth sailing. And we are committed to delivering this because one thing we understand is that the country needs it. We've seen what happened in the pandemic. I know I don't like to use that word now since it's been a while since we faced it, but you never know what will happen in the future. And I think the hospital infrastructure is something that's a must that we should have. So at this point of time, I think we're doing 7 to 8 hospitals across the country.
Okay.
That is something that we focused on. We're doing a couple of airports. That's focused because of the Udan scheme that came up in connecting tier 2 cities uh, to the metro hubs. So that's another kind of work that we do. We're also doing like sheds for Bangalore Metro, which is where all the metro trains go for their repair, inspection, cleaning, uh, overnight rest, all of that. These are massive, 130, 150 meter sheds that we've made out of PED. So that is one different part of our uh, business. So we're kind of like people who believe that if there's a building to be built, we can build it.
Okay, that's nice. Sir, in government project, is the margin greater than compared to private project?
No, not really. I would say it is more or less same
Okay.
compared to private projects. But today the thing is that the governments have become very good paymasters, which is not something that happened in the past. Because I think everywhere our politicians have also understood that performance is a key to being re-elected, and just announcing projects before elections doesn't do the job anymore. So it's a very good realization that's come across, and because of that, there is a push on getting the job done. So, so that's where it really helps people like us.
So, sir, since you mentioned that the margins in government sector are relatively lower than if you do real estate and all.
Yes.
So, costing is very important for you. How do you ensure accurate cost estimation for your projects?
So obviously, this is one of the biggest challenges, especially since we work pan India. So it's very important to have your ears on the ground. You should be having those vendors who are able to give you real time information, as well as a little speculative, I would call it, but a little future information. It's important to know, uh, you know, what steel is going to do next month, or what is cement going to do next month, because these are your major uh, cost items in the project. Internally, and I've also presented to CREDI, we map uh, how materials perform through the year. So we look for seasonal changes. So, like, a trend that we see is that cement prices usually go higher during the monsoon month. I think it's more to do about how you transport them and the wastage, because when it rains, it becomes problematic, and then they settle down a little later. So, the idea is to catch these trends and then hope that you're buying items at the right time, because it's not necessary every time you will be able to buy at the lowest point, of the curve. So, those are one of the activities that we do. Uh, this the second thing is also that we encourage healthy competition between our vendors. So everyone knows that we also, since we are bidding L1, we also expect that yes, we want to be loyal to vendors, but it's not always possible if you don't support, our expectations of being the lowest as well. So, what we've done is we've actually groomed that set of vendors uh, to to you know so, to perform. So, all these things really help uh, a lot. And like, we've started doing this. It's at a very nascent stage, but I'm still going to talk about it. A few years ago, we went to Japan for CREDI's study tour, and over there we went to the Toyota factory. And the inventory in the Toyota factory is for one day. Okay, and it's very intriguing because we cannot imagine those kind of things.
Yeah.
And obviously, one of my first questions to the guide over there was that what happens if your vendor does not give you? And he very confidently said that that cannot happen. And obviously, my next question was that how can you say so confidently that it cannot happen? And he said that is because I have trained. You know, and this was a great takeaway for me, because like, we focus on training internally. We look at training ourselves, our staff, all of these. But what about our vendors? They are part of our ecosystem, and we're completely ignoring them. Or when it comes to these kind of activity, you may have a dinner for them or social event for them. Yes, all of us do that. But really talking knowledge with them or setting expectations right with them is something that we've completely missed the plot. I mean, you don't hear of a developer saying that I did this this knowledge sharing session with my vendor. So we're moving toward doing things like that, and kind of giving them that feeling that you're part of Vascon. You're not an external source to Vascon. And I feel that these kind of things also help, because once there's a sense of belonging, then you're very committed to the cause. And once you're committed to the cause, you're willing to do whatever to make it happen.
Yeah.
So once your expectations are aligned, your goals are aligned, they feel part of us, then I feel that we'll be able to bring in. I won't be able to give you a tangible answer, but intangible benefits into our systems as well.
Okay. Sir, can you give me a step-by-step breakdown of the various cost centers which are associated with the project? Right from land acquisition to labor to approvals to marketing and sales and all of that.
Yeah. So this is actually a tough question, because land acquisition, the price of acquiring land is different from area to area, and it's also different from the way you structure it. So, like I told you in the beginning, we do joint venture deal, uh, which means that we end up giving the landowner far more than an outright deal that he will get today. But also the fact is that the reason he's getting that money is he's going to see it over the time frame of the project. He's not going to see the whole thing today, right? And then there are instances where landowners will say that, you know what, we want to hold on to the asset or part of the asset. So all of these things are indirectly or directly land costs, if you look at it that way. So it's very difficult to put a stipulated number to it, because it will be based on location. So like, a JV in Koregaon Park will be somewhere like around 50%. There's, to the landowner. In Kharadi, it will be lesser. If you go to Wagoli, it will be even lesser. So, that's how this is going to really play its role.
Then maybe can we do it in percentage basis instead of just sticky number basis?
So we can do it in percentage when it comes to cost barring land.
Okay.
Okay, because land we just leave as a different subject, and that's why we say construction cost, excluding. So when we talk about construction cost, we don't take land into the picture. So we can talk about construction cost that way. Typically, in construction costs, I would say 20 to 25% of your cost will be to labor, and the rest of it will be to material, manpower, all of these kind of things. Again, then, uh, see, I'm a believer where, like, if you're taking costs into picture, it should be the entire cost that you spend on that site.
Yeah.
And not like, generally people will say that I did this building in 1800 rupees a square foot, and then you realize that 1800 is only the structure. He's not accounted for landscape, or he's not accounted for the infrastructure costs and things like that. And I find that very misguiding, and I find that uh, very false, so to say, because, like, without this infrastructure, without this landscaping, A, I will not be able to sell, and B, I will never get my occupation certificate. So if you take genset out, if you take lift out, how am I going to get a OC? So my simple math on this is that everything that's required on site to get my OC, including the overheads of the staff salaries that are attributed to that site, plus a percentage of uh, HO costs which are associated to that, because we're doing purchase from here, we're doing HR from here, we're doing accounts from here. So all these costs are actually attributable to that site. So we like to put these numbers and then say that, okay, your overheads and salary should be at 7%. Your marketing cost will range between 6 and 10%, depending on how lavish you want to do your sales, uh, show flat and sales office. It also, then when it comes to actual construction on site, it depends on so many factors. It's so, like, when people ask me that, uh, what is the cost of construction of a 21-story building? Uh, I find it very hard to answer that. The reason being that, one, if I did this building next to you with the same parameters, still we wouldn't have the same cost. Uh, Secondly, design plays so much of a role in this? How many podiums do you have? How many basements are you going? What is the steel that you're using? Uh, are you going to do post tensioning? Not going to do post tensioning? What technologies are you using? Are you going to use Maiwan, or are you going to use tunnel formwork, or what is it that you're going to do? How many cranes are you going to deploy? How much equipment are you going to deploy? Is it a function of time, or is it a function of uh, efficiency? So, so all these factors impact construction costs so significantly that, like, a developer really needs to sit down and see what's his sweet spot. Whether he wants to play like Rahul Dravid or whether he wants to play like Dhoni is actually the kind of call that he has to take. That I want, if efficiency is the name of the game, then a 5-day slab cycle or a 3-day slab cycle makes no sense. Okay, it absolutely makes no sense. And I don't understand why we talk about slab cycles, or we're so possessed about slab cycles, because the goal is not finishing slab, the goal is finishing the project. So if you finish slabs quickly, but your facade is not aligned, or your internal finishing is not aligned, I mean, the whole point of doing this fast is lost. So the goal is to back everything up, uh, along with this. So, so I would look at all of these as function of cost.
Okay. And sir, which would be the biggest cost center in a project?
So obviously, material plays the biggest cost center uh, on site, and that would be, I would say, around anywhere between 50 to 60% of cost
Okay.
deployed on site.
And 50 to 60% is materials. Which are the other ones which, fill the pie?
So materials is one of them. Services that will go into the building is obviously the second one.
All these services include?
So services is everything from your HVAC to MEP, uh,
Fire.
also firefighting, drainage systems that you do, all of these kind of services that are there. Landscaping is another head uh, that is there. And the reason I bring up landscaping is, for me, landscaping is the face of the project.
Mm.
You can build great buildings, but plants are something that really bring it alive. So I always feel that landscaping is a very critical. It's the difference between a concrete jungle and a livable space. So that's why I say landscaping so much on all of this. You also have fees of all the consultants. So whether it's architect, uh, you know, environmental, this thing. Now you have RERA consultants as well, if you choose to employ them. So all of those is another cost center that is there. Sales and marketing, like we know, is a good chunk. Like I said, between 6 and 10% is that. Our overhead costs is another thing which is very important. So I think these are few of them.
And in cost centers, which are the specific areas where developers can minimize their costs? Like, where do you see that opportunity for developers to save costs?
So I would say that the one single biggest factor, if I had to pen it down to one, is design. What I see is that the difference between two developers buying steel, or any raw material for that matter, will barely matter by 2 to 5%, right?
Yeah.
I mean, end of the day, it's all governed by market. So we are not really going, it's not that you're going to buy steel at 50 rupees and I'm going to buy at 80. No, you will buy at 50, I may buy at 52. That's the only difference that is there. So all of us are pretty much playing in the same range, give or take 5%, like I was saying. But design is a complete game changer. And the reason I say this is that uh, efficient design, and we've kind of forgotten the word called constructability. Okay. Constructability is how efficiently you can do the building with least number of resources, whether it is mechanical resources or human resources. So this is something that is very critical for cost. So when you design a building right, and like I was telling you in design and build, now if I know that I have my one formwork or aluminium formwork, and these are the sizes available with me. And I go to the structural designer and tell him, look, I want columns based on this. And he is able to do it or get close to it with minimum additional capital cost for me. That's a great game changer for me. Similarly, things like the way pipes run or electrical conduits run. I've seen projects where like electrical conduits are running through the floor of an entire corridor of a building which in length is around 120, 130 meters long because of the way it was designed wrongly. Now, doing this on one floor is fine. Imagine doing this on 22 floors and the numbers just change. I mean, it's such a poorly designed building. And at the end, you're just looking at each other's face that what just happened here, So these kind of designs are something that we really need to take care of. Another thing that design brings to the table is how do we use natural resources well? Okay, like you've been to my cabin and you've seen that I don't use the light. Why don't I use the light? It's because there's enough natural resources coming in. In my cabin, the air conditioning is used in summers. So why am I sitting in an enclosed office with minimal light and air conditioning being used? It's purely because you designed it and put that thought behind it. So these kind of factors, then your clients start appreciating because their electrical costs are low now.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've done nothing. All you did is orient the building. So it's not a big cost when you see. So the openings of your apartment are aligned with nature. So so they start appreciating these smaller things. And that's where value really comes in as you grow because things that you thought were unimportant suddenly have a lot of importance because from a client's perspective, that is great value. So design in itself is a great cost saving tool. Structural design. So many times we feel as contractors that buildings are being over designed. So, where you need, say, 4 kgs of steel, 4 kgs of steel, there'll be like 5.5. And you're like, what is this really happening over here?
Yeah.
But that's the technical knowledge that we bring to the table. And we say that, look, I'll get this designed approved by an IIT professor and I'll do it in 4 kgs and show you. And an IIT professor will not sign off unless it's safe, right? He's not going to. The, so over designing of building is costing you because like when 4 becomes 5.5, that is almost 20-25% additional steel that is going into the building. So when you do a math calculation on, uh, you know, a 2 lakh square feet building or a 5 lakh square feet building, the numbers just run into lakhs and crores. And in many tier 2, tier 3 cities, that's the difference between profit and loss.
Mm. Wow. Sir, in your experience, what are some of the common mistakes which developers make while budgeting for their project?
So I think one mistake that I see with a lot of people, which now is changing, and I'm so happy that this is changing, is that people use historic data to cost future projects. So I would hear statements that मेरा पिछला project जो है वो मैं 2200 में किया तो ये भी उसी में हो जाएगा. But that's not how it works because cost is very dynamic, and if I had to cost, if I had to, do a Excel sheet calculation on the cost of a project at the beginning of it, and at the end of it, do the same Excel sheet calculation with current prices, there's going to be significant difference. So my suggestion to everyone and what I've been telling people is either use a professional cost estimator who's going to give you current prices, or if you're not going to wanting to spend on them, at least you use current prices. And then you can keep a buffer of 5%, 7% for escalation, and then you'll get a truer picture. But sometimes we're so obsessed in saying that I know what I'm doing and I did the last one this way, and this will also happen the same way, that we just miss the bus. And we only end up hurting ourselves in this. If you look at it, so when I also tell someone, I see that sometimes they feel upset about it, but it's in your own interest that I'm telling you, because it pains me to see a fellow developer hurting. So yeah, that is something that I definitely like.
So I think that'll be definitely helpful for all the developers out there and to consider while budgeting for their next project. Uh, Apart from that, sir, how do you ensure that, how do you calculate a project's delivery timeline? Because each time and each month on month, there is an interest cost also associated with it. So how do you calculate a project's delivery timeline?
So in our organization, delivery timeline is a very elaborate process on how we're doing it, because we'll backward think every process that goes into uh, into the building, and put timelines to that. See, uh, where we can do things in parallel, things that have to happen sequentially, and based on that also work out when purchase orders need to go. So we I mean, we're one of now the many companies, but at one time few companies uh, that adapted SAP.
Okay.
And we've mastered SAP to the extent where we can actually release orders, purchase orders slab by slab. Though we don't do it because it's inefficient, but we have that capability that we bought into it. So our backward calculations of timelines are uh, quite quite strong, I would say, and that helps us to really push projects on site as well. They know their targets at any given point of time, and I think that is something which is very critical, that site knows exactly what is needed of them, and it doesn't come as a surprise to them that they are too much ahead or rather too much behind in the project. So constant communication is one of the key aspects of this.
In a project, how do you calculate that I will take, say, 30 months for this project and this much time for this project? Do you have a backward calculation, or like you said, or do you calculate it that name, or I will be done with this many slabs by then, and final finishing by this particular time?
So obviously for purposes of a feasibility study or for purposes of giving an offer to a client, we don't get into details. It's more on a thumb rule basis that, like you said, it's like, okay, it's a 25-story building, 2 basements, or whatever is the config. And this looks like we'll be able to do as per our track record. This is what we can achieve out of it. The real fun and the real, cracking the code is when you sit to take each item by, to the last nail, and saying that this is how we are going to do our timelines, this is how we're going to do purchases against it, this is how we'll do our cash flow statement, and then work this entire thing out to evolve it with, and, you know, match it with the sales plan, because this entire circle is something that needs to be plotted on day one, so that you are not out of pocket at any point of time, and that you'll be able to comfortably complete it without any external help uh, to do it.
I asked this question because in project management we are taught about Gantt charts, and yeah, you have to project finish this project for an estimation by this period. Whereas I feel in real life it's quite the opposite. You get a deadline that you need to finish this project, and you have to make yourself that efficient to actually deliver the project by that date.
Yeah, so see, obviously the goal is to finish the project as soon as possible, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, like you said, interest savings and so many of these other things are there. So there is also an backward pressure on the team that is executing to perform, right? And many organizations do this, where the Gantt chart or the schedule given to site is different from the schedule that is really wanted. Okay, so there's a schedule and an actual schedule that you want. the purpose of that shrunk schedule is because all you've done is taken out any buffer that is possible over there. So generally, like say for example, I would say that in the month of July, I may have 10 rainy days. Right? I pull that out because the moment I start giving buffer to site, they'll start consuming that buffer. Okay. And that's something you don't want because if you're hit towards the end of the project by some unforeseen circumstance or something like that, your buffer is just not there. So, and then obviously you're facing clients and answerable to them, and it goes into a downward spiral, which nobody wants. So you always have these two uh, different charts so that at some point of time, you don't have to go back to anyone and say, hey, my project is now moved by this much. So,
Sir, how do you manage Vascon's cash flows during longer project cycles?
so in our EPC business, we have a policy where we're really not getting into really large projects. We're a company that is not aligned with any single political party or things like that because that's the way we've been set up from the start. And because of that, so what we try to do is start and finish the project in the same term of the government. So that helps us a lot. So which means that the maximum that we'll be doing is 4-year projects.
Okay.
Uh, the- Now, cash flow management in contracting is uh, the way it works is that you get an advance, and it is your role to rotate that advance with monthly bills, uh, and keep the ball rolling. So you'll end up in a situation where you may have to fund 1 or 2 months of the project from your own sources, but the rotation happens from money that you get from the client.
Around how much percent is the advance?
So the advances can be up to 10%, between 5 and 10%. So like say for a 200 crore job, which is kind of our sweet spot, if you are going to get 15-20 crores of cash flow upfront, that is very well sufficient to mobilize, to set up shop, to get the project rolling, and to make sure that you've got momentum on that project. So that's how this system really works. Yeah.
And the later costs will be financed by uh, whom?
No, so it's rolling, right? So you're going to raise monthly bills and you're going to get paid against it. Typically, you will get paid majority of your monthly bill between 14 and 21 days after raising the bill. So that's why you need that 1 month, uh, 1 to 2 months of buffer that you will have to put in. Is because you work for a month. By the time you reconcile and raise your bill, it's another week. By the time the client pays you, it's another 2 weeks. So you're pretty much 1 month further on into it. That is the only funding that we.
Oh. Sir, with scaling so much and reaching such heights, you need to, adopt to what the modern technologies are. And the industry has seen so many developments when it comes to construction technology, including say MIVAN and other technologies. What do you think is the future of construction technology?
So, uh, there is this stat that after agriculture, construction is the second least mechanized or least technology sector.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so I see this changing very, very fast because because what this really means is that there is so much untapped potential, right? And we see ourselves being hit by technology left, right, and center daily. There is someone new coming up with some new product. Uh, it's almost like every second day you're experiencing something new. This and tech is industry agnostic, right? It can impact any industry. So that's what's happening with construction as well. And the key to this is not getting, enamored by the wow factor that it brings or something that looks really cool and fancy. but actually making an informed decision of how much it's really going to help you. Okay, because things like AR, VR, they look really great, right? I mean, those visuals. I can show you your unit from your floor, but then those companies that really do it also, you need to understand, do they have the backup to service you after they've given you the product? Because like, this is tech. End of the day, if a joystick is not working or something is there, and those guys are taking time to service you, that that entire system that you set up is just kept to the corner, and you've gone back to manual. And once you've gone to manual, to bring it back to this is very difficult. So having an understanding of what exactly will work for you, which may be very different from what will work for me, just because of the way we're set up. So you need to take very informed and very uh, thoughtful decisions on how is this aligning with your plans for your project, how is it aligning with your future. So it's not necessary, like when sometimes people say मेरे 8 project है मैंने सब में लगा दिया. You know, is there a pilot being done first? Are you happy with the pilot? And then if you're happy with the pilot, then does it scale from 1 to 2, or do you go from 1 to 8? Uh, so we need to take informed decisions on all of these before really getting, swallowed into this tech world.
Any specific techniques or technologies which have particularly helped you reduce, say, project costs and timelines?
So, I mean, there are a lot of technologies that are available. We keep exploring them uh, because there is a part of my office which, uh, if I had to compare it to a movie scene, would be just like that mad scientist lab. So, so we're constantly looking for new things to happen. And, people generally say, don't reinvent the wheel, don't reinvent the wheel. We are the opposite. We love reinventing the wheel, and we love doing it again and again. And we know very well that while we're doing this, there is a good chance of failure. So we are not a mad scientist as a mad scientist, but we know the risk reward. There is a risk and there's a reward at the end of it. So yes, there will be times where we're working on 2 or 3 things and all three will fail. But there are also times that we'll be working only on one thing, and that will be a phenomenal assistance to us. So, like say for example, precast member. No one will associate precast members to low cost housing, right?
Yeah.
But we have kind of done that. So like in one of our projects, all the walls that we're using, internal walls are all precast walls. All the area where you want to save cost and doesn't really require aluminum formwork, like the sill and the area below the sill when it comes to a window. Those are not structural members. They don't need to be structural members. So we have come up with formulas to address those and save costs over there. So it's like a very, it's like a science puzzle of sorts. So it's a lot of fun when you get it right, and it's painful when you get it wrong. Uh, but I don't think we would have it any other way.
Yeah. Especially if you're trying to invent or bring up something innovative. Yes. Any specific systems which have particularly helped you? Like I know you mentioned SAP, and even implementing SAP needs a lot of processes. You also use other softwares like BGQC, I think.
Yes.
So how have these systems particularly helped you as a business owner specific?
So something like a DGQC, what it brings is reporting systems to you and the ability to track wherever you may be. So, that is one advantage, because today, when you're geographically spread, it's not possible for you to go everywhere. So, like we are present in 22 cities. So if I had to go one day to each city, that my month is over. Then when do I focus on my business or any of these things? So these apps, they are all monitoring agencies that allow you to see things wherever you are. It also helps you to like understand situations better. So if some client calls you and he says, this is just not happening, and I have that camera on my phone, you know, I can tell him, okay, I'm just going to call you back. And in a minute, I can, see on my camera what's happening over there. And if it's really true, then find a solution to it. If it's not true, I can tell him, look, this is what my camera says. So you can't get taken for a ride.
Yeah.
Uh, the- so technology does those kind of uh, things for you. SAP is something. Uh, See, we got in SAP at a point of time where when we were bidding for jobs, we were asked only two questions. One is, are you listed? And the second is, are you on SAP? Because at that time, none of these other ERPs were available. Okay. And SAP is not the best suited for construction compared to some of the other ERPs that are available today. But all these ERPs are like, they are like bottomless cups. Once you get into it, there is no getting out of it. And it's also that there is so much investment that has gone into it that it's an extremely hard decision to say that, okay, now I'm done. I've had enough of this, and I just want to go to someone else and start afresh new. Uh, so you do. So there are a lot of pros of SAP. There's no doubt about that. The dashboard that it gives us, uh, all of these things are phenomenal stuff that we get out. But it has its own limitation.
So would you recommend SAP to say someone who wants to implement it at this stage, a developer?
So I would say that SAP is more like a big boy's toy. This because it is a huge cost impact.
Yeah.
So not, and I would not recommend everyone to go through those kind of cost impacts. Uh, this. So it's a very informed decision that you need to take. And I feel that when there are products in the market which pretty much do what is just required, then till you get to a stage where you're really big or you're looking to grow exponentially, stick to like the good ones and then make a decision when you really want to, take that leap.
Okay. Sir, your company is behind one of the greenest buildings in the world, which you had done, that is Suzlon One Earth.
One up.
Could you share the story behind that? What does it take to execute a project like that?
So, like I was telling you, it takes two people vision to align to really make it. One is that Suzlon being natural energy company, they wanted something which is a landmark. This and for us, we've always been aligned with this idea of sustainability, uh, and it's something that we take very very seriously over here. So when that opportunity came, and we pitched for this, uh, it was just like yes at first go. Like it was not let me think about this and get back to you kind of decision. So uh, it's a beautiful campus. They allow visits if you have time. I would highly recommend this. They do a lot of sustainability initiatives with kids as well. So uh, it's something that I feel is the need of the hour was something back in 2010. Now it is for me. I think we're way past that time where we really should think about acting. It's more about acting now. And we're just happy to be associated with one of these great projects.
And which year was this project executed?
I think this was more like completed in 2012, 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
And were there any specific guidelines or parameters which would have been difficult as compared to a normal project?
Yeah, at that point of time, there are a lot of money decisions that need to be made. Uh, because, like, simple things like LED today is a standard product. At that time, it was a luxury. Okay. I mean, like, nobody was making it in India. You had to import it. It was 2x the cost and 3x the cost of your regular CFL lighting. So, if you wanted to make a green building at that point of time, you had to digest that there was a significant. Today, the gap has shrunk quite a lot. So today people are not finding it difficult to say make a gold rated building or a GRIA 4-star rated building. It's not hard if you put yourself. So at that point of time, I thought it was challenging. I mean, simple things like people had just about started hearing about double glazed windows. So you were in that world. So it's like two different eras altogether is what I would call it.
Wow. So such a project might have come with a cost as well. Were there any, specific mistakes which had to face, or specific challenges like you mentioned about, importing from LED lights from abroad? So any other challenges which you faced?
So challenges, of course, was that it's the first time you're attempting a platinum rated building. And to make it even more challenging, you're trying to make it the best in the world. So obviously the first step to all of this is researching and finding what does it really take to make it, right? I mean, what have others done? Is it about a cooling system? Is it about the lighting and ventilation? Is it about plantation? Is it what what does it really take to make it uh, happen? So it really starts from there. And then you start understanding that. So while you're doing this research, you also understand that, oh, in building A, they did these things. And in building B, they did this. And I can do a combination of these. And A plus B gives me, 25% more efficiency. So you start working around what, others have done in bits and pieces, and you try to just bring everything together in one place. So I think that was what was the real challenge of getting information, uh, you know. So like today we just blindly go on to Google and search.
Yeah.
At that point of time, information was not as simple
Well,
to do it. Yeah.
any specific green projects which you looked up to and have still been looking up to since then?
So there are quite a lot. In fact, I get this very big kick when I see, uh, these green buildings and people doing sustainable work, because I believe that we're not delivering houses. What we're providing is a lifestyle. And today, with so much news of pollution and we having to take the knee jerk steps of suddenly stop construction for 10 days, use water, water mist to stop dust.
Yeah.
But water is also a natural resource. So you're just consuming one resource to kill another problem and creating a new problem. So, so sustainable buildings and buildings that have things like this well certification, which is another thing that's getting big now. They are very important to the way we go about our daily life, and it's also something that's important in what we leave for our future generation. So just like say for example, air conditioners. What was a 5-star air conditioner, say 3-4 years ago, becomes a 3-star air conditioner today, and 2 years down the line they'll be just means done with,
Yeah.
right? So similarly, for buildings also, the way we did buildings in the 90s should then you progress to the 2000s, 2010, and there should be that difference. So you should be able to see a significant difference in sustainability between these two uh, buildings. So
Wow. That's definitely a project I would love to go to.
yeah,
And apart from that project, there's another project which I find quite intriguing, which is the Jalandhar airport,
yeah,
which is in Punjab.
yeah, yes.
Could you share the story behind that? Because I think that airport is quite near the border of Pakistan.
Yeah, so it's one of our closest airport bases to Pakistan. It's at this small city, or small city called Adampur.
Okay.
Uh, again, we did this under the Udan scheme for the government, for Airports Authority of India. So just like Pune Airport, the Air Force already had a base over there, and like they demarcated a particular area for the civil terminal, and we built over there. It's a beautiful building. It's got a lot of culture into it. The artwork is all about the local people. The architecture also is about, uh, it's a very Punjab based architecture. So it's got modernism to it in terms of air conditioning and the quality of the airport and the circulation and of people and ease of the entire process. It's got all of that. I would say is very modern, but it's got this India connect, and I think that is something that is very important because in our hunger to copy the West, we've kind of forgotten the pride that we can get out of our own country, because India has its own architecture and it's, uh, you know, like I'm sure all of us are very proud of the Indian heritage, the Indian architecture that we have. And it's so beautiful from state to state, like what you see in Maharashtra versus, what you see in the East versus what you see in the North, which is more Mughal, or what you see in the South, which is so temple driven. There's so much beautiful architecture that you can incorporate into our building. But we've kind of gone glass, 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 glass buildings. And, kind of, I feel that somewhere we need to bring this Indianness back to our story.
So, were you behind constructing various hangars over there for the jets, or how
No,
was it?
this is just a civil terminal. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And did the defense authority, keep monitoring, or what? Were there any specific precautions which were in place?
Yeah, look, it's a sensitive area. So, I completely understand when the defense wants to monitor, and fairly so. We've had, means background check on all our labor, on all our staff. And I think that it should be done. I wouldn't, uh, I mean, I'm very happy that, our armed forces take their uh, security and safety so important. Take it, what do you say? I mean, for lack of a word, but they take it so seriously, because, one wrong photograph this can jeopardize the entire national security.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy that they didn't allow photographs. They didn't allow so many things that we would do in a normal project. They didn't allow drones. I'm just so happy that they did. Like, you'd feel upset because you didn't get a great shoot of your project, right? But uh, I think certain situations demand extraordinary. Uh, it's extraordinary, so it's just fine.
Okay. Sir, since you're a listed company, every business owner dreams of going public. What were the various changes which you had to undertake before it?
So Vascon, from day one, my father ran it as a corporate organization, uh, and not as a family business. So, the changes that we had to make was not that hard. I mean, it was hard, but not really hard. Extremely hard is what I would say. Uh, there's- Also, what happens is that the decision to go public was not a knee jerk or a overnight decision. We worked towards it for more than 3 years. So you had sufficient time, and this is something that everyone should do, is uh, have sufficient time to ensure your house is in order. Your You know how public companies run by them, and therefore ensure that your systems, processes, people, everyone are aligned with those requirements, so that when you actually go public, you're not really, you're kind of comfortable, because the penalties for breaking a rule or something is quite high. So you don't want to end up in a situation where you've listed and in the very first month you run up a fine, or you've got a warning letter or an inquiry, or certain those kind of, uh, you don't want to end up in those scenarios. So it's very important that you set yourself up for listing and not just run into it. Obviously, once you've listed, uh, there comes a time of acceptance that you're not the only owner, and your last single shareholder, even if they have just one share, is as important as the person who has the maximum shareholding in the company. So, so you're answerable to all these people, whether they are investors, retail shareholders. So it's a very important process. But uh, going public may not necessarily be the best option for everyone.
Hmm.
It's also how you're set up, where you're set up, how much growth do you really want to see. Uh, there are different ways of raising money. In the past, we didn't have so much FDI, for example. We didn't have banks lending to us at rates that money is available to us at today. So IPO was an attractive
Okay.
option. Today you have different avenues. There. So I think you should explore all the avenues, see which one is the best for you, and pick the one that best suits you, and not the one that best suits your ego.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Sir, there are many compliances also when it comes to public companies, which you need to, ensure.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, you need to be answerable to so many stakeholders.
Yeah.
But apart from that, were there any compliance changes which you found challenging in the early stage of going public?
So obviously, the biggest change that happens is that you're not used to disclosing your results on a quarterly basis, and now you have to do it on a quarterly basis. So that is something that it's not only announcing. There will be investor calls after that. There will be media interactions after that. If there is a good quarter, you will be appreciated. If there is a bad quarter, you are answerable to that. You may have valid reasons. But you will have to let public know about all of these things. Which, as a private company, you probably the best thing that you did was tell your board.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so these kind of things do come into the picture. You have a Generally you have a stricter or a bigger chartered accounting company that is auditing you. Uh, most of these listed companies have one of the big four that audit them. So their style of working versus your usual chartered accountant style of working is different. Uh, so the first year, I would say, is just you settling down to this huge change that you have made uh, around you. You're more in the eye of the public now. So anything that you do which may impact share prices, you have to announce to the stock exchange. So so things that you're generally not used to doing. This now you have to bring all of that to the forefront and openly put it out over there. So these things, of course, you have good people, good consultant, good chartered accountants who help you out with all of this. But it just happens that way. So uh, you need to just fall in line and just accept that you're swimming. You're not swimming against the tide. You're swimming with the tide. Uh, so that's how it's been.
So as a managing director of Vascon Engineers, how often do you, monitor your share price?
So I, on my own, barely monitor my share price, but the reason for that is that it's bought up by someone every day, someone or the other. So the more people I meet, and of course, like I said, a good amount of our scope of work is outward facing. So you do meet investors, you meet clients, people who are interested in understanding your growth stories or what's happening in Vascon, and they are constantly tracking you. So when you meet them, they will bring it up. कि आज आपका share price ये है कि so um, I would say that like you come to know more from outside than you really go to the website and track it yourself.
So you would focus more on internal parts of your company, that is growth and vision and all of that, rather than monitoring your share price.
So I would say it's both, because more than monitoring the share price, it's very important to create shareholder value. So it is important that shares perform as the company is performing. That is a very important part of it. It is also important to be out there and let people know what means what you're thinking, what your plans are, what your current projects are, where you'll be heading, what is your vision, so that they also see that there is untapped potential in the organization and therefore they will benefit by investing. So you have to create your own story and put it out there. Internally, I feel the game is a lot simpler, and having a good CEO, having good VPs in place, to run the show it pretty much takes off most of the load from your chest.
That's nice.
Yeah.
In the real estate industry, uh, it's a big taboo, but corruption is there, and corruption at times is unavoidable. How does Vascon deal with it?
So corruption is something that we are kind of against, obviously, not kind of, we're just against it. But we do help people in times of need. So we help politicians where we know that they are using, uh, how do you say, they are we are supporting them by distributing books to children in their area, support education. We support food and meal costs. Things like that is how we really support. Uh,
Okay. Uh, and apart from that, sir, you have accomplished, I think, more than 15 years of working in Vascon, and throughout your career in real estate, what advice do you have for, say, young developers who want to learn, or young professionals? What do you think is the best way for them to grow?
so see, this is a line where I would say that people should remember that profit comes at the end of the project. This so even if you're sold out on day one, the temptation to buy a fancy car or a fancy house or things like that should take kind of a backseat till you don't really see that money, come in. That is something that which I would really like to tell people. And growth is never overnight. So, uh, what you see today at Vascon is a 40-year-old story almost. So it's not that we started a year ago and today we're at this. If you want to grow organically, it is going to take a lot of time, effort, hard work. Uh, I know that as we speak, there is this whole debate on what one of the chairmen said about 90-hour work week
Yeah.
in the industry. Uh, I have my own opinion on that, which may not really subscribe to what he says. And so so we're all about adopting and adapting to this.
So, what do you feel about the 90-hour work week?
So I believe in hard work. Okay, there's no two ways about that. And I think that the reason we outperform in any of the country we go to is because of hard work and our ability to do things where others say that this is too hard. So like if you see like Europe, they're talking about going towards 4-day work weeks, right? Whereas the so productivity can only be that much. But we are a growing country and we have tremendous untapped potential that is there. So yes, you will be able to do certain things in a 4-hour work, 4-day work week, but there is more that you will do in a 5-day work. So I think we talk about work-life balance. You know, I find that a very uh, difficult thing or this, but it's more about integrating your work and your life together. I think I find more comfort in that. There will be a Sunday close to a deadline which will demand me to work, and I should be ready to work. And there will be a Saturday after that deadline which will be a little light on me, and I should be able to enjoy that Saturday. That is what I feel is the need of the hour. if we start looking at it like, you know what, no, this Sunday also is my holiday and I'm not going to work, when a deadline is right up around the corner, I think we lose a lot of business. Right. But then it comes to the sane mind of the employer or the top management to say that, fine, I understand that you did this extra work for me. And as a reward, or as, since you have done this, I want it, here is what you're getting. Go relax. Let's, enjoy this moment. We've done it in time, and let's take a moment to enjoy it. And that is also one of my second problems, is that we don't celebrate it.
We don't celebrate the little moments.
Yes, because my entire week goes in stress. Okay, it is either this project में ये नहीं हुआ, वो client ने ये बोला, ये material आया नहीं, and my entire week is gone in this. And if I have that small opportunity where, like, say my child comes and tells me that I got, second prize in this or first prize in this, I feel I should not lose that opportunity to celebrate, because I just spent 6 days in like complete stress, and this 1 hour where both of us can be happy. It may be small thing like buying a pastry or taking him out for dinner, or, it doesn't have to be an expensive thing, but just doing it together with family, appreciating what has just happened. I think that is something we just don't do enough for. Most people are like, okay, you came second, very good, next time try first. No, he did second. He did a great job. I mean, like, there are 25 kids in his class, there are 75 kids in his standard, and he's come second. I think that's very good. So so all these small things, you achieved a small milestone, you should enjoy it. I mean, have a samosa party, but like, just take a moment to just step back, enjoy it. The reason we are all cringing about long work hours is that we look at work as a punishment. And I think this is where we are failing as a, civilization actually, is that the the thing in which I'm spending most of my day, whether I work 5 days or 6 days, I am not having fun there, or I'm looking at it as just something to get by the day.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going to be spending 8 hours a day, I should be doing at least decent amount of it, enjoying what you're doing. So we are not creating an environment for people to thrive. We are creating an environment that I'm saying, I'm paying you, you do your job. So I think that the change has to come across at some point of time, and we have to give people enough time for them to enjoy themselves. Compared to the past, today, disposable spending has gone up, as well as avenues to spend money has gone up. So like previously, if you wanted to have fun, you went to a restaurant, you had a dinner, you came back. Today, what can I not do? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, so many avenues have come up, and if you're not going to give people time for it, again, you're just creating that environment of discomfort. So it's a balance that we have to create, and we have to integrate work into people's life in such a way that it just feels nice.
So, do you believe in the same, philosophy for your employees, creating a better, safer, and a more enjoyable environment for them?
So this is something which is never ending, because we keep evolving, right? I mean, so like, for example, Vascon went to a 5-day work week, I think 3-4 years ago. Okay. But it took us 2 years to get to the stage where we could plan to be on a 5-day work week. Okay. Because you have to set your entire team up to be in such a situation where you still need 6 days of work done. Site is functioning on the sixth day.
All 7 days.
Yeah. So you can't just leave them to the dogs and say कि अरे मेरा आज छुट्टी है तो नहीं होगा तुम्हारा काम. He has to still perform and he's facing the client. So the pressure is on him. So to adapt both site and head office to the situation where, okay, I'm working 5 days, but you will still get your sixth day of requirements cleared by me. It takes a long time. You can't just start and do this. You'll end up hurting yourself.
Absolutely.
So that was one thing that we did. Then we've done things in the office which, again, in line with celebration. Uh, there is not a single festival or event that we don't celebrate. Like you walked in today, I'm sure you saw the kites and the Makar Sankranti decorations right from the ground floor. So there is nothing that we don't celebrate because of the same concept. I feel that we don't celebrate enough. Okay. We actually, another example to give you is, we have a room for children in our office. So this comes from the concept that we understand that today more and more people are nuclear families. And the responsibility of kids is on either the husband or the wife. You cannot be in a situation where, suddenly school gives half day.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, same XYZ minister is coming, this road is closed, so 12 o'clock, you have to take your kid. But that person still needs to work the entire day over here. And, they can't leave their child alone. So we encourage them to bring them to the office, and we've created a play zone for the child. They can play board games if they want, they can study if they want. It's just one small nice place for them to feel important, and for our staff to know that there is a safe place for your child where you can work without any stress in your head ki what is he or she doing. So we keep doing this thing. Is it enough? No, it is never enough. Okay, because when we do this, there is a certain new need that will arise. Okay, we've addressed one problem. There will be a new problem that will come up. So this may be for nuclear family, but there may be something that comes up for bachelors. Okay, and so the endeavor is to keep seeing how you can make yourself better and better, because only a certain sect of people will appreciate this. The people who don't use it will be like, theek hai na kiya. But when they get into that situation, when they get married, have kids, at that time they will value this, so much more. So we're trying to cater to the different demographies. We have a flexi rule system in the office. So you get to decide your holidays.
Great.
So the thing is very simple. If you're Christian and you want Christmas, take Christmas off. Right? Just because we can only give 10 or 11 holidays a year and Christmas is not that, but you're a Christian, we don't want you to suffer. We don't want you to take a paid leave and, go for that. So they may end up working on Diwali, not Diwali, but maybe say Makar Sankrant or some other day. This works very well for us also in return, because when we're working pan-India, like in the north, say for example, or in the east, Diwali is not important. Chhat Puja is important. Okay, so they will take break during Chhat Puja, but head office, nobody is there to support them for Diwali. Right? So if I have someone from another religion who does not subscribe to Diwali, and they're happy to work so that they can take a break when their religious festival is, it supports my projects as well.
Yeah. Makes a lot of.
So though we didn't do it with that intention of this, we just realized, oh wow, this is what happened. But the idea was that how do we get you to spend time with your family? Another thing people will do is that people who say, I don't believe in all these holidays, they'll pick holidays on Monday or Friday, irrespective of what holiday it is. Right? So that means they can go back to their hometown for 3 days without having to put a leave. So we've kind of kept on doing these these things uh, over the years. But like I said, nothing happened overnight.
Yeah.
So
That was great, sir. And especially integrating so much balance for your employees,
yeah,
especially a 5-day week in real estate industry is really difficult.
yeah.
So definitely understand that. Apart from balance for your employees, let's talk about you now. You have probably one of the largest Lego collection of India.
Yes.
How did it start? I want to know the story behind it.
So when we moved into our new office around 8 years ago, uh, in my cabin, I always wanted something that I have built.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get a showpiece. I didn't want to put a sculpture from somewhere else. I thought this is my zone. This is, uh, where I'm going to spend my day, and it should be reflective of something that I do. Uh, Real estate is one of the most creative lines that is there because no two projects look alike, right? So then I said that you should be banking on creativity to do something. And at that point of time, then I went to Hamleys to buy a birthday gift for one of my kids' friends. I saw this Lego Mini Cooper, and I actually fell in love with it. And you had to build it, so it kind of felt like this is perfect for my cabin. This makes sense that something I have built.
Yeah.
And though people may not know about it, that's okay. But I'll feel satisfied seeing it that I built this.
Yeah.
And what started as one set turned into two, into five, into 10. And today I have close to 450 sets. So, yeah.
Which is your biggest set?
So in number of pieces wise, I would say it's a world map and it has close to 9,000 pieces. Uh, in terms of size, I think I have a tower which is the Avengers Tower, and that will be around, I think, 3.5 feet in height.
And how much time did you take for that?
So I think these didn't really take too much time, but there is another series of Lego called Technique, and we made a bunch of cars uh, in Technique, and they're typically around 3,500, 3,700 pieces each, but very complex, lot of cogs and wheels, and it's a completely working model. So those take around like 16 to 18 hours to build.
So all of this must have helped you with your patience, and because you need to be so focused, so patient when you're doing something like making Legos or solving puzzles, right?
Yeah, I think focus, definitely patience, of course. Another thing that it did was uh, it's kind of a de-stressing thing for me because you're so into it while you're doing it and you're so engrossed while you're doing that for that half an hour, 40 minutes or an hour that you do it, uh, you don't worry about the world. You're not thinking about what happened at work, what what is so and so doing. This you're just happy to be doing uh,
And enjoying.
and enjoying. It keeps the child in you alive. Uh, that is another thing that happens. And I'm a believer that your time should be productive. So yes, I do understand, and even I watch Netflix and Amazon Prime. It's not like I don't spend time on those things, but there has to be some productive use of time where you're satisfied with what you're doing.
Hmm. So, sir, we've definitely learned what you like to do for fun, and we're really intrigued about your Lego collection as well. Now, let's jump to a section of the podcast which is quick fun. I'm gonna ask you a set of questions,
All right.
and you have to answer them as quick as possible.
Sure.
Okay. So, what's one project you wish you had been a part of?
So the one project that I wish I had been a part of is one of our projects in Chennai in Tamil Nadu, uh, which started off as a secretariat building but ended up as a medical college.
Okay.
So
If you weren't in the construction industry, what profession would you choose?
I think that's already answered. Lego.
One construction innovation you wish to see in India in the future?
I think something which will really revolutionize the way we do work and move away from our mundane RCC and brickwork plaster.
Your most challenging project?
I think Windermere was quite challenging.
Okay. Your personal favorite project?
My first. So is this from what we've done or
Yeah,
is
you can say both.
okay? So I think personal favorite project is the Adhampur airport because that was the first airport that we did. So it was, it's a moment of pride for us. I think another project, I mean, it's not a building project, but, uh, the Statue of Unity is something that I think is a great thing.
Be a builder for a project or be a contractor?
It depends where you. So if you had to choose, no, I would definitely be a builder. Oh, for a project.
If you had to give one advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would say that uh, tough times don't last. So don't do sleep over it.
Wow. Big project in the outskirts of the city or small project in the heart of the city?
Small in the art of the city.
Which sector do you see the most growth in? Residential, industrial, IT parks?
I think industrial and data center.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that ends our quick fun section. Thank you so much, sir. We've all learned so much from you, and
Thank you.
just having you here as a guest, we've learned about construction costing. We've learned about what it takes to be, a managing director of a listed company. And I think I shall, relieve you now before your shareholders say that you're wasting too much time on podcasts.
No, I don't think they'll have a problem.
Well, thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you so much.